Across Britain throughout the centuries, there were certain execution sites that became infamous for the actions of executioners who worked in the business of taking lives. Tower Hill, for example, was known as a public beheading spot, where botching executioner Jack Ketch struggled to take the heads off people in one clean blow. There was also Tyburn in London, where a triangular-shaped gallows was created during the reign of Elizabeth I to condemn more people on than a standard gallows, and it was common for someone to observe an execution here, with many people hanging from the Tyburn tree. Also at Tyburn, there was hanging, drawing and quartering, used as a multi-step execution method, which resulted in someone being cut into 4 pieces after their head had been taken off too. Truth be told, Britain was a rather brutal place throughout history, but inside of different towns and settlements, there were trees which were used for public hangings, and people would flock to witness these proceedings at the hanging tree. Welcome to the fortress. Today we look at the dule trees, or hanging trees, and to support our channel, please make sure to subscribe. Dule trees were used as gallows for public executions and hangings. They were used as gibbets to publicly display the remains and corpse of someone for sometimes years after the execution had taken place. The point of this was to strike fear into the hearts of the locals, so they would not commit serious crimes, as they would literally see the remains of someone decaying and rotting day after day. Dule trees were also known as a method in Roman times for punishing and hanging slaves, but inside of Scotland in the 12th century, the trees were used prominently as gallows. They were also known as the grief tree, the gallows tree, or the justice tree, and local people just knew them as the tree, due to the notoriety they had because of what happened there. They were used by Highland chieftains, who hanged their enemies from them, to send a message to other clan chiefs, and they did this often on high ground, so that people from miles away would be able to see. When James V became the king, he tried to bring order back to Scotland, and he ordered all earls, lords, barons, gentlemen and freeholders to meet at Edinburgh, bringing a month's supplies with his army of 12,000 men, and he offered safety for a laird to meet him in Scotland or England. This man, Johnny Armstrong, had powerful men, and he was seen as a possible threat to the throne, but Johnny and his men were later hanged in the trees of the Caerley and Rig churchyard, and the trees following these executions were said to have died from shame, and a local legend exists that no tree or plant has ever since grown in this ground. Usually when an execution was carried out on the dule tree, the condemned was brought out in front of the crowd and was then hoisted up into the air, and the noose was then tied and secured around their necks before they were let go. Also, people had their lives strangled out of them on the tree, and they would kick and struggle, and it was not a quick process, unlike hanging using a gallows and the long drop. There are a number of these hanging trees which still exist today, and many have dark stories. One of the best surviving trees is in the grounds of Leaf Hall, and this sycamore tree was used as a gibbet and also a gallows, and the strong tree made it ideal by local lawmakers to execute on it. Other dule trees include the one at Casilius Castle in Ayrshire, which was blown down during a storm in the Second World War years, and it was many years old, and a new tree was planted based on a cutting taken from the old tree. It was here where Johnny Farr, a man known as the King of the Gypsies, was hanged on the dule tree, along with some of his supporters. There are many other examples of hanging trees which have been used throughout the years all over the world, and many still do exist. But the use of a tree instead of a gallows was said to have been much cheaper than creating a gallows, and it was also quicker to condemn someone on a tree rather than build and erect a gallows. The fact that trees were used to gibbet the remains of someone is also shocking, and shows the brutal nature of chieftains and local leaders in Britain. It would have been very common to ride a horse throughout different lands, seeing people hanging from trees to send a clear message to others not to mess with them. Thanks for watching. To support our channel, please make sure to subscribe, and once again, thank you so much for watching.